Hey, it's Jordan. Delighted to be joined. Delighted to be joined. I always say that. Delighted to be in Lakewood, Ohio. Nice little community right outside of Cleveland, and it's possibly going to be a very important community tomorrow in the election. Nina Turner for Shontel Brown. I've been here for a few days. Yesterday, covered Nina Turner kind of walking over to the Board of Elections, where there was a really organic, powerful moment, which we'll talk about in a little bit. Tomorrow is the election, as you know, where Nina Turner will have a rematch with now Congresswoman Shontel Brown, who has really brought in the corporate establishment Cavalry this weekend. Jim Clyburn, the Death Star, was here yesterday. You also had Hakeem Jeffries, Tim Ryan, who's running for Senate here and is a congressman. Biden endorsed Shontel Brown. So, you know, a lot of heavy hitters coming in. And they are, if you are in Cleveland right now and put on a local TV channel, the commercials are inundated with not only Shontel Brown commercials paid for by the Democratic Majority for Israel and other super PACs, but also, I mean, batshit crazy Republican ads that you're better off not watching, but I've enjoyed. I'm here with Diane and Mary. Diane, you are state coordinator for Ohio of our Revolution, and Mary, you've been volunteering here in Lakewood to try and help Nina Turner. So let's just start from comparing August special election, where Nina Turner lost by 4,000 votes, to now. It's completely different because you have the districts like 30% different, including this area, Lakewood. Can you kind of describe Lakewood? What kind of community is this, and why is it important in terms of tomorrow's results?
Well, first of all, thanks for being here. And I'd like to point out that we are in the first office that opened for Bernie in 2016, and it's here in Lakewood. And now, now Nina is here carrying on the picking up the mantle and carrying the torch. So Bernie won Lakewood in 2016. There was just a great experience here, and it's great to see that Lakewood can come out strong for Nina. We're seeing signs everywhere. I know Mary has been delivering yard signs as well throughout the Lakewood area. So there's a lot of enthusiasm on the ground here in Lakewood for Nina as well. Yeah.
And can you kind of describe, because you've been canvassing around, Mary, have people been receptive to Nina as a candidate? What's been the response?
That's a good question. I've mainly been phone banking, which is a practice I love doing. And I've sensed a difference between a year ago and now, just a kind of a tightening up of resolve to get her Nina elected, and it's a good feeling. It's a more calm campaign feeling, and yes, yes, her followers use the word love a lot, which is not often always used. With candidates. So,
it's interesting because Nina won Cleveland. She particularly the majority black wards in Cleveland, but she got crushed in the wealthier suburbs that have a pretty significant Jewish population. But this Lakewood was not part of that election. It's new, as is additional parts of Cleveland. Why is Lakewood, it seems, more progressive, went for Bernie, as opposed to like 20 minutes down the road that seems to have more, shall we say, vote blue no matter who, more normie Democrat voters?
Well, Lakewood has, I would say, especially out of the historic battle to save Lakewood Hospital, there was a lot of a movement towards the progressive end of the spectrum here in Lakewood, and a lot of people became a lot more engaged and active in the political system here. So wouldn't you say, Mary, that a lot occurred after the Save Lakewood Hospital?
I have to agree. The referendum was on. I think was lost only by a matter of 600 or 700 votes. So people became aware.
Yeah.
Viewers that don't know, what was the hospital effort here?
Well, and of course the initiative was not successful, unfortunately, like Mary said. But there was a community hospital here in the heart of Lakewood, and the establishment wanted to get rid of it and close it down. There was all kinds of funny business going on with that, and a lot was revealed after the whole thing went down. They did close the hospital down, of course, and then a pandemic hits when we could have used a hospital in Lakewood, right? So now they just offer some light emergency services across the street. There's a big hole in the ground. The hospital was torn down, and there are plans now for rejuvenating that space and revitalizing it. But it was a battle because Lakewood is a tight-knit community, and people take a lot of pride in the community here, and really wanted to keep something that was so critical as far as providing services to the residents here. So, yeah, it was quite the battle. It was pretty much establishment versus the people.
And you know what's interesting? I mean, it's not a secret who I support, but looking at the Shontel Brown ads, and I wonder if they're effective on a lot of people who just don't pay attention to politics, which is most people. Her ads basically boast that she helped President Biden pass the infrastructure deal, but like she got inaugurated she got sworn in at the beginning of November, and it was passed like 2 weeks later. She had nothing to do with it, and even if she did, it's just she voted for it. And there's other things like she stands with the president, but she's basically one of 17 opposing Biden trying to get back into the Iran nuclear deal. I mean, these are realities. Do you think voters know that? Because her ads basically make it look like she's accomplished a lot in 5 minutes as a congresswoman.
Well, you know, I know that those of us who are politically aware know. And, you know, think about it. We live in an area, especially Cleveland, that has the highest poverty rate of any city of its size. And the people here are struggling. They're not paying attention to if Chantelle did fight for this, which she didn't, she just signed off on it. They're not paying attention to all the things that she's claiming because they're working hard to put food on their table. They're working hard to make sure that their kids, you know, have quality education or daycare. And, you know, do you hear her talk about fighting for the child tax credit? That people would listen to. They would really care about. But the infrastructure bill, that's not going to put food on their table. Right. So I don't think they're even paying any attention to that. Yeah.
You know, I'm glad you said that because, like, I'm thinking to myself, I don't know, I'm Jewish. Is Cleveland some type of hotbed for, like, moving the ball forward and peace in the Middle East? I mean, all these Jewish groups, AIPAC has super PACs now funding Shontel Brown, Democratic majority for Israel. I mean, there's real problems here, poverty, healthcare, education, but it seems that all these super PACs, they are pro-Israel kind of Zionist groups, but the ads say nothing about Israel at all. What are your thoughts on kind of, I mean, her campaign is obviously significantly, if not almost completely, funded by pro-Israel groups.
Well, Chantelle runs on her image of being a good negotiator and just getting along with everyone, a good compromiser, just like Biden. So we can expect if she were to be elected that we'd have more oil drilling in federal lands and oil drilling offshore. And she is not an environmentalist, whereas Nina is run on the Green New Deal, of course. And as far as Build Back Better, Nina mentioned to her in an interview, plain dealer interview, was for endorsement, that Nina said, you know, you get credit, you're trying to take credit for something, and you're forgetting that it's good that the half of the Build Back Better passed, but it's not good that the human side of it had the other portion of Build Back Better did not pass, and that's the social service side. And put it in Nina's personal language is, how's Mama gonna pay the rent. She doesn't care about the bridges being good if she can't pay the rent or the mortgage. So, yeah, the short-sightedness. It's not enough for, Nina says, to just pass a bill anyway. One has to keep the vision open and be willing to disagree. It's such a basic personality destructurization that had been done with the opponent, as Chantelle calls herself, the challenger. You know, she's become the puppet, the neutral.
And remember, smash the like button, share this live stream, like button right under the video, share, super chats are welcome. I wanted to ask broader, because I was following some canvassers the other day, and this isn't unique to Cleveland, but I've seen it elsewhere. It's got to be challenging as a campaign when you're up against all this money, but you're also up against voter apathy, which in a lot of cases is justifiable. I was following canvassers. A lot of people had no idea who their congressperson is, no idea there was a primary, where they should vote, this and that. People are kind of just checked out or, you know, working multiple jobs or whatever the case may be. Can you kind of talk about Cleveland, because turnout has been low pretty much for most elections?
Oh boy, where to start? Last year we had our city council elections. And so think about this. A city council member, this is in Cleveland, represents approximately 25,000 people. I live in Ward 14. You know how many people came out and voted? I'm not going to have to skid that. 1,500. 1,500. So now we've got representation that are chosen by 1,500 people. 1,000 of them voted for a council person in my ward. And it's like that all across Cleveland. A good part of that is the lack of engagement. I put that squarely at the feet of the Democratic Party. That there's no real outreach to voters. There's no education why they need to vote for Democrats. And there's a sense that there's no care for the people. I'll give you a good example. Now City Council has to decide whether to invest millions of dollars into the MedMart, which is now something else, I forget what it's called. But here we are, where, again, high rate of poverty, we need jobs, we need our roads fixed, okay? You know, our schools in so many ways, you know, really need to be improved and so on. So what we're going to spend another, you know, I think it was like $14 million or something on a failed project that they've already sunk millions of dollars in. So when I'm a voter, I'm going to look at that and go, well, how about, you know, helping and giving us that hand up? You know, we need it here. We've got a food desert in Ward 8. They just closed the last supermarket there. Where's the help for the people who need access to high quality food? You know, where is it? What are they left with? Convenience stores? And most of them don't even sell fresh produce. So the apathy is within reason. And then when you've got
Also, isn't there like plans for another prison around here?
Prison, no, yeah, and which, you know, they're talking about putting on on property that really needs to be cleaned up, you know, EPA and stuff like that. First of all, let's take care of, you know, addressing the problem of poverty. It helps with lowering crime, let alone, you know, incarcerating black and brown people. And if we eliminated cash bail, that would help, and, you know, for nonviolent offenders. So, you know, let's address some of those issues as opposed to, you know, like, oh, let's lock more people up. The one thing that they did do was with the American Rescue Plan, the money that came in from that, is they bought, let's see, I think a new helicopter or improved it. They're more equipment for police. They've basically taken the money from the federal government from the pandemic instead of helping people, and they're militarizing our police further. So when you ask about apathy, people are going to go, how are you helping me? What are you doing for my life? And that's what people want to know. Right. So there's no trust in our elected officials.
Which makes it even more infuriating when the actual active voters that vote vote, not based on any of that stuff, but, oh, this one's divisive, or this one, oh, she supports President Biden. Well, what the hell is President Biden doing to address any of the things you just talked about? Not all him. I mean, Republicans don't give a shit. I mean, it's basically it's a rolling cycle of economically nothing much changes, but differences on social issues, this and that. But it just dawns on me that Shontel Brown is the head of the Cuyahoga County Democratic Party. So if there's a problem with outreach,
again, you know, the lack of turnout, participation, education, engagement, I do put that squarely at the feet of the Democratic Party. And with her being the chair of the party, first of all, she should have resigned when she ran last year. The numbers were not good at all during the the presidential primary. When Obama ran in 08, it was amazing, the turnout we had here. It's just gone downhill ever since then, and there's nothing's been done to improve that. So, so yeah, she's responsible as the party chair. She's responsible for that.
And for you, what's inspired you, Mary? Because I'm sure you see online, there's a lot of people who are just like, to hell with the Democratic Party. I don't care if it's Jesus running. If they have a D next to the name, I'm done. So why, 2 years after the last Bernie campaign, are you out knocking on doors for Nina Turner in particular? Because a lot of people, not because they don't like Nina, just expect anyone to get elected and then them to basically, fold to the power of kind of the establishment and Democratic Party.
Yes, I believe that Nina is a Bernie surrogate. I believe that she assimilated his platform, and she's in total harmony with it. And I also believe absolutely in what his platform is. And I think the message both of them came across with was that the government is in the streets. It's with the people. It's we, not. Help me here.
Not me, us.
Not me, us. And yes, I feel that participatory nature is not to close the door, lack of transparency and misrepresentation we have at the federal and in Ohio at the state level too. So yeah.
If you need to walk through, you can. Don't worry about
I was going to say, can we take a break?
Yeah, sure.
Okay.
Take a break. I'm going to stay live, but if you guys need to.
What I was going to say is we might want to move from the back so that
yeah.
we're coming in to volunteer and we don't want to interfere with
That's fine.
With that, so
Don't go anywhere. We're just going to move over. That's fine.
thank you.
This gentleman here is Alan Minsky. He is the PBA National Director
Okay.
out of the LA area, and he was wanting to talk to you while he was here as well. His
sure.
his plane got delayed.
Yeah, we're still in town. I just wrote an article that just came up on Uncommon Dreams. I should share it with everybody. It's all about getting Nina elected.
We're live if you want to talk.
I'd love to talk.
Can we move it over?
Like, I'm quite a fan of yours, Jordan, for all you do.
Oh, thank you. Tell me where to go. Yeah. Right here, okay? We'll find out.
I was going to say we can move some stuff out of the way for you.
Yeah. Where's good? Okay. I think right here because of the light. Yeah. Yeah. This is good? Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I was going to say.
Live on the internet.
Here's me. Oh, that's stuff one through it.
Cool. So they have volunteers coming in and out, so they have to talk to the volunteers. It's the last day before the election, so a lot of phone banking going on, calling voters, et cetera, et cetera. So that's why we had to shift. But here with Alan Minsky of Progressive Democrats of America, you flew in. Tell me, this race in particular, what's at stake here? Because to me, they don't send in the cavalry of the establishment Democratic Party for no reason if Shontel Brown was safely ahead.
Well, I just published an article on Common Dreams. Just came out. A victory for Nina Turner is exactly what the Democratic Party needs. There you go. And of course, it says basically that against their, we have to sort of save them from themselves. And obviously, I'm the executive director of an organization called Progressive Democrats of America. People are not aware PDA was the sole national organization to decide that a senator from Vermont named Bernie Sanders should run for president, and we launched the Run Bernie Run campaign in 2013. And we leaned on Bernie Sanders to run as a Democrat, and our founding executive director tragically died in 2014. Tim Carpenter, in his memorial service, was a moment where Bernie spoke, and Bernie saw the enthusiasm building. It actually was an event out in Los Angeles at a Musicians Union Hall, which I could not attend, but I helped set up the location. I was not officially with PDA at the time. That Bernie points to in the book Our Revolution, interviews after the 2016 campaign, as the event which finally he decided, I'm going to throw my hat in the ring. PDA has convinced me we're going to run as a Democrat. We're not going to run. He had thought, and Nader was saying, run as an independent, run as a Green. If you run as a Democrat, it's over after Iowa. You'll get crushed by Hillary Clinton. The whole thing will be done. If you run as a Green, at least you keep your issues alive the whole summer, right? And but PDA persuaded him. Obviously, one of the incredible tragedies of the 2000 election cycle was the manner in which Ralph became marginalized after that. I mean, no one could have known that the result was going to be so close and that he would be so vilified for running. Bernie Sanders, we knew from the Tom Hartman shows that he was doing, the Breakfast with Bernie's and Brunches with Bernie's, that this guy could connect with the American public incredibly well. But that's back then. Today, here we are, another candidate who can connect with the American public, another candidate that people are going to fear. Because Nina Turner is not just a progressive candidate equal with other progressive candidates. She is a proven quantity in terms of her capacity to reach people, to connect with people, and that makes her especially dangerous, right? And I think she would be an absolutely brilliant congressperson. I think she's an experienced legislator. I've gotten to know Nina really well. Over the past few years, worked very closely with her. She's actually championing, along with myself and Professor Harvey J.K., a proposal we've put forward as a 21st Century Economic Bill of Rights as part of her platform. And she's just a brilliant person. She's an American history professor. I think she'd be a great congressperson. But there's something even more, and that's why they're fearful of Nina Turner, which is that, and this is one of the reasons that, she says things, and sometimes they pick on these things, and it can be seen as hurting her. But the reason she's so powerful and so prominent is because she connects with people heart to heart. They know, I suppose I should be careful about what I say in terms of swear words and all, but there we go. She's not a bullshitter. She's just not a bullshitter. We ask why certain people get these connections with people. I know it's insane to people to throw and look at the other side of the political spectrum, but part of the bond between Trump and the general public on the right wing is the way he connects with them, the way that they think that, at least in the moment, he's being honest. It's a little bit hard to fathom that because his honesty is so grounded in narcissism, whereas Nina's honesty is grounded in her passion for the people, for the welfare of people, and it's grounded in this. It's grounded in this district. It's grounded in this city, the poorest big city in the United States of America. It's grounded in the realities of the communities where she grew up, because in the United States of America, 50-plus years after the Civil Rights Movement, we have a reality that there are communities that are basically economic sacrifice zones. Year in, year out, decade in, decade out, they remain the way that they are. The political status quo has basically just washed their hands of it. It's going to be that way, right? And there are huge pockets of mass poverty. There are banking deserts, food deserts, healthcare deserts. Everybody knows these exist. And she is of and from the Cleveland community, and she is adamant that this is absolutely unjust, as it is, and she's going to let everybody know that until these issues are addressed, and until the people who grow up in eastern Cleveland have the same life opportunities as the people who grow up in Shaker Heights, I'm not going to be quiet about it, and they can't stand for that.
Let me ask you about connecting with people, because broader than Nina, I'm sure you're aware of the online criticism where the definition of insanity is repeating the same thing over and over again. Bernie should have run as an independent. Nina should run as an independent, even if she means well. You know, the Democratic Party is where ambition goes to die. We've seen AOC squad members. They might agree with us. We might agree with them and share the values, but they're not fighting hard enough. Why for you? Because obviously your group endorses running as a Democrat. Why for you would Nina be different? Because a lot of people feel, I like Nina, but I just can't vote for any more Democrats. They don't fight. We knock on doors. We donate. And then they get in there and they're obedient to kind of Nancy Pelosi.
Well, there are 6 members of the squad. There were 6 members of the House who voted against passing on Build Back Better over to the Senate. You know, the 6 of them, they're excellent members of Congress besides the 6 of them, but they are seen as the 6 sort of strongest-willed, most rebellious, and furthest left members of the U.S. Congress. And they were the 6 who got it right. Everybody else got it wrong. And, you know, and they were criticized for doing what they did. But boy, the other people were just played as fools, let's face it. And they should.
You're talking about AOC, Jamal Bowman, a couple others that voted against the infrastructure deal because Build Back Better wasn't attached to it.
Right, they just said Manchin's going to kill this when it gets over there. Manchin, guess what? Killed it. No, I mean, I think one of the paradoxes of the moment is, okay, we feel because the progressive left has reawakened after the 2016 Sanders campaign, the 2018 emergence of the squad, and the 2020 Sanders campaign, that the left now should be able to achieve things and change things. And there's no doubt any political movement, no matter how much it seems to be growing in that respect, if it doesn't deliver for the population, it's going to lose the support of the people. So how long do we proceed with the momentum that we have operating inside the Democratic Party, and then the inability to actually have the achievements that we feel we need in the society? And this extends all the way out to the climate emergency. If anybody believes that the neoliberal wing of the Democratic Party are going to address the climate emergency in any way that's going to be adequate to achieve the necessary reversals that have to happen to save the very planet that we need, to the whole thing that nurtures the existence of humanity, they're lying to themselves. They're not going to do it. You can see it even now. What do? How do they respond to Putin? Let's crank up the oil production. Barack Obama's going out across the world as recently as someone finally tapped him on the shoulder and say, hey, maybe not a good talking point to brag about how you turn the United States into a fossil fuel exporter. I mean, this is a big bragging point of Barack Obama's. So the paradox is we are growing. Look, we're going to add to the squad. They're going to be, like Greg Casar, we're already up 1, right, down in Texas. We're going to pick up some other victories across the country. Hopefully we'll pick up one here. This would be huge. I write in the article that I wrote that this victory here, of course, will be singularly important. It will boost all the other progressive candidates. Because of Nina's celebrity, a comeback victory by Nina here in Ohio 11th. And at that point, if that happens, then I think hopefully everybody who listens to your show, and I know you've got a core of tremendously committed and very smart people who watch your show, Jordan, and it's a great show, great investigative journalism that you do. And I'll say a few things about your show before I get through this point. But if Nina wins, hopefully people will see that we're going to have another season where we have to get in and back progressive candidates. And as for all these candidates who now are going to be up for election 2 weeks from now, starting on May 17th, Summerlee in Pennsylvania, Doyle Canning out in Oregon, Jamie MacLeod Skinner in Oregon, you have Erica Smith, Nita Alam in North Carolina, the great Vincent Fort in Georgia, and the Texas runoff with Jessica Cisneros. Nobody can sit here and tell me that the progressive movement is not assisted by voting for those guys, not only voting for them, but going out and actively advocating to get those people into Congress. And if we can pick up, all of those, including Nina, we get 8 new members into the basically squad-like politics in the House, we're obviously making progress. We're becoming a more powerful political force within the country. Okay. However, going back to the bigger question you asked, and I've debated Nick Brana from Movement for a People's Party, and if you're listening, Nick, I sort of thought, and everybody I spoke to sort of thought I cleaned the floor with him when we did that, and not because he's
no fan of Status Coup, but go ahead.
Yeah, well, I mean, look, I also don't mean to alienate Nick or the people who follow that. I see that they're well-intentioned. They want to see progress and social change. But what can you say? For whatever reasons, and I have my own theories about it, the American political system has collapsed into a 2-party system throughout its entire history. Given that, I think the best strategy remains, even to this hour, even if we don't have the most positive results in this election cycle, the best strategy is to say, you neoliberal Democrats, you're not doing anything to help this world. We need a party within a party that takes the party over.
Well, I also think, and I mentioned this yesterday, people want things now, right? Everybody wants something now. It doesn't mean people's economic frustrations, hopelessness, anger is not justified, because I go around covering the same misery for 7 years. I feel very angry and cynical and hopeless sometimes. Sometimes I wonder, why the hell am I doing this? Nothing's changing, right? But I also think it's not only about electing Nina Turner or others and they're going to get you Medicare for all overnight, because they're not. I mean, that's just disingenuous. But a lot of the workers I spoke with at Amazon who are trying to organize, Starbucks, and by the way, Amazon, right as we speak, is about to have its second warehouse vote. I have a cameraman out there, so we'll get footage and interviews, but Amazon might successfully today unionize a second warehouse. So that's going on right now. It's a 1,500-person warehouse in Staten Island, across the street from the main warehouse that voted yes. So my other cameraman is out there. We'll have results for you later. But a lot of the folks that I spoke with at Amazon, Starbucks, when I was covering the picket lines in Iowa for John Deere, a lot of them said actually they would have never done this unless they first got activated by Bernie. Right, sure. So I think that there's not always a direct line. You know, you might be disappointed in Bernie right now. You might disagree with his strategy to kind of be diplomatic to Biden. But I think the infrastructure you're seeing where workers are kind of fighting back right now was helped by the Bernie movement and all the groups that sprung off of that. So, you know, people could vote however they want. If you don't want to vote for Democrats, don't vote for Democrats. But don't think that this movement you're seeing right now in terms of labor has nothing to do with what Bernie sparked years ago.
Yeah, I completely agree. You know, and obviously the labor movement can be assisted by things within the electoral realm. It certainly is one of the most clear-cut examples of where the left can pick up victories outside of the electoral realm, and we are in 100% solidarity with this incredible new wave of organizing the Starbucks workers, the Amazon workers, and the strikes elsewhere across the country, all the way going down to the miners' strike in Alabama that's been going on for quite a while. And so it's a tremendous, I mean, we're in a phase hopefully coming out of the pandemic, right, where we've had the greatest disruption in our lives of the general flow of society that we've known throughout our lives. And you can see that people are saying, wait, I don't want to return back to those labor arrangements that we had previously. So, I mean, the left has to be very agile and prepared to support the labor unions, to support the generalized demands for basically a different economic social contract, and to support the candidates in the election cycle who can, you know, get elected and change things through public policy, because it certainly is a hugely, even when it comes to the labor union movement, very important that we have allies inside, and allies that build up to a majority. And look, it's a long reach out to believe where we can have the majority control over the Democratic Party. But, you know, if we get to, 16, 32, 64 real squad-like members in the House, hopefully we can get to where we can really have control over the Democratic Party. We can win the presidency with whoever that candidate might be that we support. And if we have the executive branch, look, I think we have majoritarian politics. I suppose really at the heart of what I'm getting at is I think we have, since we have public policy positions that are supported by the majority of Democrats, for sure, with the Democrats. But when it comes to the general public, close or already there, why is it that we can't turn this around quickly and overcome the barriers? The stronger we get, if it's inside or outside the Democratic Party, but say it's inside the Democratic Party, pointing out these are the policies we want. We don't want any of you in here that don't support these policies. Of course, the big fear is you lose your financial base and backing. That's where it's really going to take some organizing skills, because it will be a big grassroots movement. And I think if we actually run the neoliberals out of the party, I mean, I'm thinking long-term vision here, I think we actually start to bring in many working-class voters who completely abandon the Democratic Party. Because don't forget, there are two parts of the United States where there's this intractable poverty, and it's in inner cities and population centers, and it's in small towns across America. One group is voting Republican, one group is voting Democrat. And if you think of this as a divide and conquer of the working class, that's just playing out in front of us right now. And we could have a majority politics, at least in terms of Democratic result. which, does that represent half the population, voting population? I mean, we can't be naive. There are a lot of people who are middle class, upper middle class Americans, and they tend to vote very high. But I think through moral suasion, we can bring them in. I'm an upper middle class kid. I'm not I've not had a lot of money in my life, but I'm not from either of those two communities, and I will always vote for as far left an option as I can. So I think we can build up, and I think winning inside the Democratic Party in this season, it's a very important season. If you live in one of those districts where you have a candidate like Nina Turner or a Summer Lee or a Vince Fort, get out there, work for the campaign, get them elected, and then let's go from there.
Now, let me ask you, because one of my criticisms of Ro Khanna, Pramila Jayapal, squad members has been, great, we got you elected, I agree, you need more numbers to really exercise power. But there are things within their power that they're just not doing. For example, I interviewed Ro Khanna a few weeks during the whole mansion cinema brouhaha, and I said, well, why are you trying this inside Washington approach and being kind to Joe Manchin? Why don't you guys go hold a massive rally in West Virginia? You'll get 10,000 people. I've been there. There's a whole lot of progressives and populists in West Virginia. Same thing in Arizona. Frankly, why aren't you guys outside the White House rallying, not for a day, but for several days, weeks, with young people against President Biden and canceling student loan debt? It seems like there's they talk about the inside-outside strategy, but they're not really... It doesn't seem like they're willing to actually aggressively go against the president, not demonizing him, but on policy. And I think that's what makes people kind of think more third party, because it's like, we've elected these people, but their aggression, their idea of aggressiveness is like writing a kind letter asking Biden to do something.
Well, there's a few things there. First of all, you mentioned a third party. There is no third party. Okay, so I hate to say it, because again, I do think all the way up and through Nick Brana, these are well-intentioned people. They do want to see progressive social change. They're extremely frustrated with very, very good cause. I mean, the Democratic Party, in PDA, we like to believe we have no illusions about what we're going up against. If you look at something like the ACA, I get on calls with supposedly progressive groups, and they're like, hey, we have to celebrate. It's the anniversary of the ACA. And it's like, oh, fuck off, It's like, give me a fucking break. The ACA, the way I look at it is that you had a situation where the population was rebelling against the cost of health care, and so the Democratic Party basically intervened on behalf of their clients, the health insurance companies, to protect them from their own greed so that they could perpetuate their profitability and their continued political power, which then they would provide to them as they are the patrons of the neoliberal Democrats. So that's sort of what's going on there. And I, of course, want to see none of it. I mean, just those businesses shouldn't exist. They're parasitic institutions, and we should have single-payer universal health care. It should be the position of the Democratic Party, and I think it should be stated as strongly as possible. Okay, what happens when you're inside Washington and inside maybe the offices of a politician like a Ro Khanna or a Pramila Jayapal, and you have Joe Biden as the president, and you're trying to get as much progressive policy as you can out of Biden? Look, I think it was an interesting year in Washington. What happened with Build Back Better, especially the moment where it goes to Richie Neal's, Ways and Means Committee, and I thought that was the point. It was not going to be $3.5 trillion. And I'm pretty savvy political analyst, and even I was fooled for a little while. I thought, oh my God, this guy passed it at $3.5 trillion. And they went out and they created the template of a $3.5 trillion Build Back Better structure. Okay, there's no doubt this was happening in the context of COVID. However, if you look at neoliberalism for the past 40 years, the basic idea is you just sort of, all the politicians do is they sort of tighten things up around the margins, and the idea is you let markets make the determination of how resources are allocated in society. All of a sudden, there was a reversion back to politicians doing much more than that. Okay, so what could happen at that moment, and this is the world that I think Khanna and Jayapal lived in over the past few months, is you could start to make the case to even some of the more neoliberal Democrats, including Joe Biden, hey, look at what you just did. Look at all the lives you just helped. The Democratic Party hasn't done this for decades, and look at all the good you're creating. You've eliminated half of child poverty. And so, you have to believe that anybody is persuadable, right? And so you could make a case that now we're going to continue on this. Let's continue to be a party that doesn't shy away from direct fiscal expenditures and fiscal programs. So it's been a little bit tough the past year. I mean, obviously, it looked like something rather significant was going to happen. Was it fully adequate? No. Was it everything we wanted? No. But it was better than anything they were proposing to do any time in the recent future. Was it informed by the fact of the COVID pandemic? Yes, but still it was more. And you could say, look, now you're no longer just a person who's holding a political position to serve the status quo. You can be proactive in making things better for people. Doesn't that feel great? Let's continue. Let's even go further. And you could also take those messages out to the general American public. I mean, everything being equal, I think that what I want to see PDA grow into with our allies like Our Revolution, et cetera, is a party within a party, very clear who's in our party. We need basically party discipline inside the progressive bloc such that you have a clear set of policies that you support or you don't support. You run on saying you support them, and if you abandon them, then we replace you. We're not going to support you in the next election. We're going to basically primary you. And, this is something that the kind of discipline that has existed within the Republican Party, whether it's because of Grover Norquist or something a little bit more obscure in the Tea Party or whatever. But we haven't had it inside the Democratic Party, and we need it because I do think we represent the majority within the Democratic Party of Democratic Party voters, and we are basically still controlled by a neoliberal infrastructure that primarily serves, financialized capital.
Lastly, bringing it back to this race, I think the National Progressive Movement has not done enough for Nina Turner. Obviously, we know the Progressive Caucus, through their rules, endorsed Shontel Brown. Actually, if you missed it, Pramila Jayapal actually responded about this finally. I'll just read you part of what she said as far as the endorsement of Shontel Brown, which was by the whole 100-person Progressive Caucus. And Pramila Jayapal said, I understand the frustration, and we're looking to see if we need to do anything to change the way we look at these things now. We don't want people to sign up for the Congressional Progressive Caucus like right before an election, which is what Shontel Brown did. So we're definitely looking at that. Should we have a certain period of time, whether it's 6 months or a year or something, that you have to be a member of the CPC and in good standing? The other thing we're really looking at is, do we need to have some kind of change in endorsement based on whether somebody accepts this kind of giant PAC money, whether it's from the crypto billionaires or whether it's from Democratic Majority for Israel? Maybe you should be looking at your actual measurements for accepting people into the Progressive Caucus.
And also what about not being a member of the new Democratic Caucus simultaneously?
But anyway, last question. Basically, what's at stake here? Because the National Progressive Movement, Our Revolution and other groups have been involved, but I don't see the fever pitch that you saw like for Bernie's campaign and other campaigns. I think that's for a lot of reasons. But if Nina Turner wins, what kind of person would be going into Congress? Because to me, just based on having covered her for 5 years, seeing some of the things she's done, people have short memories, but she did spurn the Clintons. Most people don't do that in politics. At the time when she endorsed Bernie over Hillary Clinton, that was like political suicide. And Bernie did not have a lot of momentum at that point. She just did it out of genuine support and her moral code. But do you think she's somebody that can get in there and maybe help galvanize other squad members to maybe take more, aggressive stances? Do you think she's somebody that will be in there that will actually play hardball? Do you think she's somebody in there that could inspire and kind of reactivate progressives who maybe have been a little dismayed? What kind of person would be going to Congress?
Well, I think so, and I think a victory. The article actually that I just published on Common Dreams, it looks at three things, components of this race, and then I talk a little bit about Nina in Cleveland. But it'll be a big boost to all these other candidates, the fact of Nina Turner winning. Secondarily, it will be a spectacular victory over a spectacularly horrible tranche of massive amount of money. Right now the Cleveland media market is getting saturated by advertisements from these super PACs because there was uncertainty about when the date of the election was. These guys didn't buy up their ads until the last 2 weeks, and now they're flooding the airwaves like nothing before. It's rare to have somebody defeat that kind of tranche of big money. So that'll be a great victory and show that it can be done. And third, it will, this is the way the Democratic Party can hold on to their majority, because as you're actually sort of implied in so much of what you're saying, without Democrats and progressives and young people participating in the midterm election, they're going to get slaughtered. They can't afford to lose any of their major constituencies, and these two constituencies are just going to be absolutely depleted. So Nina Turner, I think, can really lift not just the progressives but the Democratic Party to victory, and in doing so go into Congress with a lot of influence. I mean, I think if she wins this election, because it's the first election in this cycle, she's really going to be propelled to being a leader within the progressive movement, and I think that is absolutely brilliant. Do I think Nina Turner can do things that other politicians can do? Absolutely. I mean, she's just a fantastic communicator with the public. That's why she's so popular, and they keep her on like CNN, because I think the ratings must be just sky high, because she's a truth teller. She is very present and connected in all of her interviews, full of a lot of energy, so she can really reach people. And I don't think that her commitment to progressive issues across the board are unwavering. Her desire to see serious social transformation so that the welfare of working people, poor people, is actually addressed and their lives are improved. And until that happens, I don't think she's going to be ever really rest until all of that is achieved. And it has to happen in American politics. I mean, of the wealthy countries in the world, there are no countries that have this amount of poor, impoverished, and underserved communities like they have here. And by the way, one way to have great economic growth in the country, and you look at China and China's GDP growth, people look at it as like industrialization and financial investment. It's also taken 400 million people out of the peasantry and lifting them up to the middle class. No other rich country in the world has this pool of people who could be lifted up into the middle class. That's GDP growth. Yeah.
Thank you for joining me. People could check out your article on Common Dreams.
Common Dreams. It just came out. It has Nina Turner in the title, and it is just out on Common Dreams. And please check out pdamerica.org. And I'm Alan Minsky, and you can contact me at alan@pdamerica.org. I want to thank you for all the work you do. You not only do great investigative work, but you are just out on the front lines of progressive struggles all over the country. And I do want to say, too, I find it really dismaying that LeftTubers aren't out here to the degree to which you are. And I really encourage you and other of the sort of LeftTubers to interview these candidates across the country. I mean, they're incredible progressive candidates, and I just prattled off about 8 of them, and they're all in May. There are tons of them in California challenging rotten Democratic incumbents who need to get the heck out. I mean, they're Republicans. Scott Peters down in California 50 is a Republican, and there's a great Bernie organizer named Kylie Titano challenging him down there. She can't get an interview locally or nationally from anybody. So you're out here doing this, and I wish, I'm not going to name names, but I sure wish a whole bunch of other people were out here too.
Well, I will. 1 second. I'll say this, and this is not to toot our horns at Status Coup, but you should support us. This isn't cheap to travel as much as we do. But there's a whole lot of LeftTubers, or they call themselves left, that pontificate about how brilliant they are about politics, and they come up with hashtags and things like that, but they never leave their studio. And that's not to say there's no value in great analysis and commentary from a studio. I'm not on the road all the time, but how the hell do you know what you're talking about if you never actually go around the country and see what's happening? You never actually go around the country and speak with living, breathing, working people, working class people, black, white, brown, across the board. My perspective comes from traveling for the last 7 years, and it's different when you're in the trenches, in communities, seeing the economic carnage, and to me, the economic Hunger Games we live in. So don't necessarily follow people who tell you, no, the best strategy would be this hashtag or this or that. It informs you whether it's about the environmental movement, the LGBTQ movement, Medicare for all. We could go down the list. It really adds a new perspective, not that I know all, when you're actually breathing in the trenches what's going on. So we do need more independent media on the ground. And thank you for the kind words. Appreciate it. Absolutely.
How do I stay in touch, by the way?
I'll give you my number when I'm done.
Okay.
Yeah. Colin, I want to wrap up with, could you ask Diane if she could come on for a few more minutes? So she's back there. Keep smashing the like button. Hold on. Let me see if we got any comments to read while I wrap up. 222. What's up? Yeah, go ahead. Oh, wow, $200 super chat. Who left that? Kelly Elaine, holy cow. Nina Turner, you can put it here. Nina Turner can't be bought. Thanks for being there for such a rarity as Nina. Love, love, love her and need her. Thank you, Kelly. Let me read some others without my glasses. I'm pretty much blind. But Chris, if Nina wins, will Dems try to recall her like Shama? I think it's a little harder to recall a congressperson. I haven't actually... Has there been any high-profile congresspeople that have been recalled? Not that I remember. Let me get my glasses here. Cheryl Tyler, $20. More amazing coverage by Status Coup. Thank you. I'm donating to Nina again. Thanks, Cheryl. Robin, $5. Thank you. Annette, $19.99. Thank you, thank you. And Kelly, the $200. I really, really appreciate it. Is she able to come on? Yeah. So Diane will be back on. I want to focus a little bit more on what's the Cleveland and this district and what Nina needs to do to be victorious. Can you come on for a few more minutes? I won't bite. So Diane, we were talking before. You're state coordinator here for our revolution. Yes. Can you kind of break down this district now? And obviously turnout is expected to be low. It was last time. But what are the key aspects here for people that are here in Cleveland, but people who want to know what's it going to take for Nina to win? We know that Chantelle, Nina won the city of Cleveland last time, but Shontel Brown did very, very well, basically crushed her in Beechwood, a wealthier area, Jewish population. This time around, what's the key parameters if Nina's going to win?
Well, as we always say, with most elections, you've got to get out the vote. This election, it couldn't be more true. With the closeness or the lack of voter participation right now, early voting, in-person voting, absentee ballots, it's going to come down to who turns their supporters out on Election Day, is what it's going to take. Now, saying that, if you measure the enthusiasm for Nina's base, that's really good. The people who are going to go out and vote for her want to really go out and vote for her. Tomorrow's going to be really rainy. And, and I was checking the weather this morning. I was looking at hour by hour by hour by hour, and I'm like, oh, normally this is not good. And all I could think was, if I had to go out and vote for Nina and stand in the rain, I'd go out and vote for Nina and stand in the rain. That's the kind of support she has. I can't see people going, oh, I will stand in the rain for hours to vote for Chantelle. So this is going to be key. I
also think it's important to point out, if you don't know, in August, 5,000 to 8,000 Republicans voted in the August primary for Brown, because there was no other primary that day. Tomorrow, the Republican primary is the same day. I'm pretty sure 5,000 Republicans are not going to skip voting in their primary to vote in the Democrat. You can't vote in both. So that could also be a key factor.
Right, yeah, they'll probably be out there voting, pro guns, pro God, pro Trump, right? As a pro democracy, which we should be voting for.
I'll just tell you, I was at a J.D. Vance event this morning. Some of those interviews you'll see tomorrow on Breaking Points, because we're partnering with them now for some content. And boy, was that really, I'm going to have a drink later.
Have one on me. You haven't had to sit through all the commercials. Yeah. It's been pathetic. It really has, and scary, very scary. So yeah, and that is a valid point. And one of the things that looking at the numbers, especially coming out of those eastern suburban wealthier strongholds, the numbers are nowhere near what they were last time, and if everybody in Cleveland gets out and votes for Nina like they should, in Lakewood and, and in places like Cleveland Heights and South Euclid and University Heights, and Beechwood, everybody across the district, she's got this. But we need to make sure we get out the vote. We've got to make sure our absentee ballots are turned in. And that, there's only one more day for that. So I see the enthusiasm. And, I really think that if everybody does that there's a chance that we can have a fresh, new, people-first congressperson. Yeah.
And also, anybody, even people watching, can phone bank. So they could.
Hey, we got one more tonight.
How do people do that?
Well, if you go to our Mobilize, our Revolution, we've got one more phone bank tonight. Shameless plug here, 6:30 to 8:30, and we can use phone bankers. It's just our focus is calling the supporters and making sure they're reminded to get out and vote. That is what this is our last big push, and then tomorrow we're going to be here helping to get out, getting people out to vote at the polls and stuff. So, yeah, we don't expect it to be a mad rush like you would get during a presidential election, and that again, like we talked about apathy earlier. The people who are going to vote tomorrow are people who are determined to vote, who know that there's an election, and that have a candidate that's in this race. You're going to. Do you mind if I talk a little bit more?
Yeah.
Okay. So what I want to say is this election is the primary that Democrats are picking the governor. It's gubernatorial election. It's also Senate. And then, we don't have our General Assembly election because of the miscreants down in Columbus. So we've got two primaries this year. And so there's not a lot of excitement with these candidates that's turning people out and saying, I got to go vote for Nan Whaley. I got to go vote for John Cranley. You're not seeing that. You're not seeing the most exciting race besides Nina's is Morgan Harper. People are excited about her candidacy, so she's helping to drive out more people to vote. But you're not seeing that with these establishment Dems. So when you look at not only voter turnout being so low, you have to ask yourself, if Democrats aren't even going to come out and vote for them in a primary, who's going to vote for them in the fall? Right. So, that is where the work that we need to do here is to really mobilize people. Who's mobilized? Nina supporters. Who's mobilized? Morgan Harper supporters. That's about it.
And I can tell you, just based on my experience, because it's not my first rodeo, typically if an incumbent's internal polling is showing them with a pretty comfortable lead and it's going to be pretty, just walk in the park to get reelected, you don't see kind of the establishment cavalry fly in 2 or 3 days before. For example, if Shontel Brown's campaign, based on polling or whatever other metrics they're using, saw her, with the same lead that she won by, she's safely up by 4 or 5 points, maybe even more. Don't think it's a small thing that Biden endorsed her 5 days before. That was only the president's second endorsement this cycle. So there's some behind-the-scenes wrangling that goes on with getting the president to endorse. He was probably urgently requested. I mean, I don't have any confirmation on that, but my speculation is they needed Biden to endorse her. She flipped around right away with that, celebratory video, appreciating the president's endorsement and, clinging on for dear life to that. And then you had Clyburn, Hakeem Jeffries, Tim Ryan, the congressman here. I think Sherrod Brown was here. So she had everybody here this weekend in addition to Biden's endorsement, and of course all of this PAC money. And looking at the Federal Election Commission filings, a lot of this PAC money has come in the last 2 weeks. So again, bat signals go out. I know they're not supposed to coordinate, but they absolutely do. So I think this is a close race. I'm not going to make predictions, but if you if you've been sitting on the sidelines or you've been apathetic, don't let anyone tell you, because I've seen online, oh, she's going to lose. Well, I think it's a lot closer than people think. And in these kind of races, it could come down to 500 to 1,000 votes.
Yeah.
Right?
Well, it's similar to what I was talking to you about with the local races last year. 1,500 people coming out of 25,000 just to vote for a city council person. That's how this occurs. So I have a feeling it's going to be close. And that's where, we need to make sure that we get all of our people out. I'd like to just talk about AIPAC for a second, though.
I hope my Zionist father's not watching. Go.
Hi, Dad. So, when you look at who AIPAC is funding, I don't have the numbers off the top of my head, but a good portion of them are insurrectionists, right-wing Republicans. And so you've got an organization like that is supporting a Democrat in Cuyahoga County. What's that about? Why are they investing in a race like this when they've got all these conservative Republicans, and then they're endorsing a Democrat here? And I think they might even be going after Summerlee or someone like that as well. Yeah. But it just shows that they're really focused on people who are going to vote mainstream conservative right along with that. I'm surprised they're not investing in Machinima. Maybe they are, but that's what we'll wind up with. If the people that they're supporting are elected, those are the kind of Democrats that they're buying.
And I also think we mentioned it earlier, but it's important to say, Shontel Brown, one of the big things, for people that had the argument, the reason Nina lost the first time, is she wasn't scorched earth enough against Biden and the Democratic Party. One of the main reasons she lost was there were billboards all over Cleveland talking, referencing Nina Turner's comments on Biden. There are ads nonstop. Actually, her being critical of Biden before she ran hurt her here. But the funny thing is, Shontel Brown was running on that she's the uniter, she's Team Democrat, but she's blocking, or she along with 17 others, is against Biden re-entering the Iran nuclear deal. And her commercials now are still cheery that she's working with Biden.
Right. And if you look at that list of other representatives that are against the deal, they're all mainstream Democrats. They don't represent the people. They don't fight for the people. They're not going to vote for Medicare for all. Like Gottheimer, I think he's one of them. I'm not sure if that's how I say it. I think he's in New Jersey, and definitely not going to vote for policies that are going to help Americans. Mm-hmm. And they're just going to go mainstream. Probably support war. I'm sure, and never fight these oil barons. So is that what we need here? Is that what the representation of greater Cleveland needs? Someone who's not looking out for their interest.
Right. And last question, I always like to kind of get some personal flavor. Why for you? You're obviously very active with Our Revolution. You probably work a lot harder than on top of whatever else you do. Why for you personally does it matter so much Nina Turner getting elected?
I got to tell you this. I'm having a great grandbaby in September 7th. Great grandbaby. So when you ask me that, and I look at the date that we have left to address climate change and the climate crisis, and I wonder what future do they have? Well, I hope she's going to be named Morgan. We do know it's a girl, but it's for her future. And for my grandchildren's future, and those 7 generations. We have a responsibility, and so I'm older, as you can tell. Hello, people. Hello, somebody, right? And for me, right now, almost everything I do, every battle I'm in, and because they are battles, especially living in Ohio, I look at it as legacy living. And, it's not going to affect my life, but it is for those who come after me. And so that's why.
And tell people one last time, they go to Our Revolution to phone bank?
Yeah, if you go to Mobilize, HTTPS and Mobilize/iRevolution, and you should be able to find it. It should come up in your browser and look for our last phone bank. I wish I had it with me. It's probably on my phone. But thank you, and I hope everybody get out and vote for the future.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And I wanted to point out, you don't have to sit, you can go.
Okay.
Yeah. I wanted to point out one other thing. So yesterday I was covering Nita Turner, a couple other people with her were marching to the Board of Election because early voting was still going on. And you really couldn't, like if you were making a documentary film or something, you couldn't even script this out to be this powerful. It was just completely organic. But I was trying to interview her. She gets out 4 or 5 words, and then a car honking stops her. A honking car of support stops her. She goes up to the car. She's pounding, pumping fists, talking to them. Then another car. Then another car. Then I try to resume the interview. Somebody else comes up to her and gives her a hug. And then I try to resume the interview, and a student that she taught, if you don't know, Nina was a teacher, I believe, at Cuyahoga County School here, local college. A student comes that apparently when his name was Christian, when he was a student of Nina Turner, he fell on hard times. I don't really know the specifics. And he told Nina, like, you were like a mother to me, and thanking her so much. And now he's doing well. I think he's in the police academy or something. And Nina, teared up. She was crying, and it was real. And I could tell you, because I've seen a lot of politicians, and I could smell bullshit from 2 miles away. It was real. Those were real tears. She, was crying because I think to Nina, she almost, I don't want to speak for her, but she almost felt like a mother figure to this student. And the reason I tell you all that is I'm not a sicko fan for Nina. You could vote for whoever you want. Like, it's not my role to tell you who to vote for. But I will say that in a endless sea of fakery and covering fake people and covering fake politicians that are not representing people and covering essentially legalized bribery being normalized, covering people being evicted during a pandemic being normalized. I mean, I could go down the list. People covering people choosing between insulin and groceries. Everything I've covered over the last few years, it's rare you see something real like that from a politician. So to me, there's going to be people online with big platforms that, their brand is basically telling you not to have any hope. And basically their brand is telling you to hell with electoral politics. And their brand is to tell you essentially, access your anger, but don't use it for anything constructive. To me, I think that we all have selective memories. We all kind of forget sometimes somebody's record. And I think Nina Turner, if you actually look back at her record, maybe she didn't show up to a march you think she should have showed up to. Maybe she's not ranting loud enough against Biden and the Democratic Party, which is probably politically the smart thing to do because this is a very pro-Biden area. Biden won by 35 points. Maybe she's not doing certain things you want her to do. But I think you should not forget, whether it's Nina, Bernie, not just politicians, anybody in your life. Look as far back as you can, because this is somebody who, for the last 5 years, barnstormed the country trying to elect an old Jewish socialist. In 2020, not so long ago, she basically moved to South Carolina. She basically lived in South Carolina trying to help him in South Carolina. Obviously, that didn't work out, but that's not Nina's fault in South Carolina. I think her record is pretty strong. And to people who say, she's either going to win or lose, I mean, that's not up to me. But to people who say this election doesn't matter, and if she gets elected, she's just going to be another dime a dozen, progressive who goes into the Democratic Party and gets swallowed whole by kind of the corrupt neoliberal status quo there. I don't know. I could be naive, but She doesn't seem like the type of person going there to have a tea party. She doesn't seem like the kind of person going there to kindly write the president kind letters, asking him to do things. She might, in some cases, have to vote for things that we are unhappy with, but within those bills, it gives something to Cleveland's Ohio 11th district. And that is politics. Sometimes you got to vote for things that you really don't support, but it gives something to the people you represent. I think the difference between Nina is she has a connection to these people because she has been here most of her life. But that doesn't mean just if somebody votes for something that we don't agree with from time to time, that certainly doesn't mean there's not other benefits of them being there. I don't think Nina Turner needs to be repeatedly asked to show up at an Amazon labor press conference when it counts. I don't think Nina Turner is going to be shy about going to stand with striking workers, workers organizing on the front lines of climate, et cetera, et cetera. That's just my opinion based on what I've seen. So I think this is an important election. And if she loses, I don't think people would be happy with themselves if she loses by a couple hundred votes and there was something you could have done, whether it's donate, phone bank. If you're in Cleveland, knock. You do what you want. I'm not like a spokesperson for the campaign, but I do know people would feel if it was a narrow loss, what could I have done? So we will definitely be here tomorrow for Election Day. I don't know what we're doing the rest of the day. We're kind of on the fly. Definitely sign up for our text list, statuscoup.com/text. That way you'll get a text message when we're live, because God knows YouTube doesn't like to notify you when we're live. So it's free, statuscoup.com/text. If I missed any super chats, apologies. It's hard when I'm live on the road. And support us. There's a whole lot of people asking you for money that sit in a very comfortable studio. I drove 7 hours to Cleveland after 2 back surgeries, and I'm driving back 7 hours back where I live. So gas, hotel, food, equipment. We also have a cameraman right now at the Amazon vote, so we don't miss that. If you missed it, right now they're voting on the second warehouse that's up for a union. So you might have the second Amazon unionized warehouse in America today. So Ty is there right now getting that footage and interviewing people. We want to do more on the ground coverage. I'd like to hire other people, but I don't have money coming from oil heiresses or crypto billionaires or any of those fuckers. Our funding comes from you. So if you got $5 to $10 a month, statuscoup.com/join. You can become a member for $5 to $10 a month. We do a monthly members call through Zoom, which is a lot of fun. We're probably going to do that when I get back. And we have our members Discord and behind the scenes videos from the road. We just uploaded a video for members yesterday. So please support us. If you can, statuscoup.com/join. Actually, while I am here, where did I put my phone? While I'm here, let me shout out, because we got a couple new members yesterday. Sorry, I'm pretty blind when I don't have my glasses on, but with the mask, it fogs up. Welcome, Susan signed up. Bye-bye. Welcome, Susan. Welcome, John. Welcome, Christian. Welcome, welcome, Christina, Stephanie, Laura, Kathleen. So that's 7 new members yesterday and today. And we might be live again later today. We'll definitely be live tomorrow on Election Day, and I'll be tweeting up based on what I'm hearing here, any shenanigans going on, at Jordan Chariton, at Status Coup, and we'll talk to you later. Take care.